Today, we all commemorate the feast of St. Patrick, the patron saint of Ireland. Today, Irish people all over the world celebrate the saint who was not Irish by birth, but brought them the gospel of Jesus Christ. And because of Patrick, millions of people are proud to say they are Irish or that they are of Irish descent. And even those who are not Irish will wear something green today, or some piece of clothing with shamrocks on them, as I have on my socks, which you cannot see. But I could assure you that everyone gathered here today is also wearing green. Today also commemorates the 10th anniversary of the death of my paternal grandmother, the day on which Patrick is believed to have died. And St. Patrick was born in the late 4th century, somewhere between 385 and 390 AD. His actual birthplace is not known, but it is believed that it was on the northern coast of Britain, which at the time was possessed by the Roman Empire. His grandfather was a priest, while his father was a deacon, who was also an important official in the Roman imperial government of Britain at the time. It was not unusual in those days for such state officials to also be a member of the clergy. But in spite of Patrick's father and grandfather being men of the cloth, such a faith did not resonate with Patrick in his early life. In fact, it is even believed that during his youth, Patrick was more on the wild side. But God always seemed to have a way of turning the hearts of those whom he wants to do his work. And oftentimes, God doesn't make it easy either. It is usually a life-changing experience, as it was in Patrick's case. He was kidnapped at the age of 16 by some Irish raiders and taken to Ireland, where he was enslaved for 6 years, working as a shepherd. It was during that time that God changed his heart and the gospel was revealed to him in a profound way for the first time. And Patrick would even come to view his captivity as God's testing of his faith. He saw the hand of God in all that was taking place in his life. He became deeply devoted to Christianity, praying constantly, while at the same time growing in his understanding of the Celtic people, their language, their culture. He even saw in a vision the children of pagan Ireland reaching out their hands to him. And this led him to become increasingly determined to convert the Irish people from paganism to Christianity. And after 6 years of enslavement, Patrick eventually escaped from slavery, convincing some sailors to let him board their ship. And he returned to England and was reunited with his family, but as a different and changed man. No longer was he the teenager who was taken from England, not being rooted in his faith. Patrick was now a Christian from the heart and in the true sense. He was ready to embrace his newly found religion, that of Christianity, and will continue studying Christianity after his return home, which led to his training for the ordained ministry in Europe. He was later ordained a deacon and a priest and eventually a bishop. As time passed, he never lost sight of his vision to convert Ireland to Christianity, which meant that he had to return to the place in which he was held captive. And such a commitment to the gospel and to converting the Irish people led him at great personal risk to spread Christianity across Ireland. And just as Jesus assembled a group of disciples to go out and spread the gospel to the world, when Patrick returned to Ireland, he didn't go alone. He assembled a group of persons that went with him as they worked together to begin the task of changing a country from paganism to Christianity, and in the process to plant churches there. On his arrival to Ireland, Patrick was initially met with resistance from the people, some of whom did not believe he was held captive while he was a teenager in Ireland. Nevertheless, he managed to extensively spread Christian teachings along with other missionaries through preaching and writing and performing numerous baptisms. He would engage in an amazing process of missionary conversion throughout the country that will continue until his death around 461. Patrick erected churches over the areas that had already regarded as sacred, but which used to be places of pagan worship. And there are many legends that has been associated with Patrick's life, including that he drove away all the snakes from Ireland, and that he introduced the Holy Trinity through the three-leafed shamrock. But what is more important is, what does the life of St. Patrick teach us? What does the life of St. Patrick teach us? First, that we should remain faithful, even when life is difficult. You may be going through a difficult period and wonder, what should you do when you are struggling and God seems to be far away? Remain faithful. Patrick grew in his faith in spite of his suffering, knowing that there was always a reason for such a suffering. So remain faithful. Second, trust in God, knowing that He has a plan for your life. God had a plan for Patrick's life. He trusted in God and was obedient to Him, and his life became a blessing to many. When you trust in God and are obedient to Him, God enacts His plan for you, even when you do not know what that plan is. So remain faithful and keep trusting in God, knowing that He has a plan for your life. Third, it's natural to be hesitant or even afraid when God calls you to work for Him. But do not be afraid. Step out in faith. God gave Patrick the confidence by leading and guiding him every step of the way. And God will do the same for you. So do not be afraid. Step out in faith. Fourth, we need to have a personal walk with God. Patrick developed his Christian faith while in captivity in Ireland. He personally walked with God during that time. And fifth, Once we have developed our faith and relationship with God, we need to take what we have learned and to share it with others who do not. Patrick was determined that he needed to share his faith with the Irish people so that they too could have a relationship with God. He did not keep it to himself. He went about evangelizing the Celtic folks. So, my friends, remain faithful, trusting God, knowing that He has a plan for your life. Do not be afraid. Step out in faith. Have a personal walk with God. And we also need to share our faith with others.